Hey everyone, welcome. I am your host, Rae Irelan, and you are listening to the Soul Aligned podcast and show, where we help high-achieving leaders and driven visionaries do what you love and live your purpose, starting with right now. So I'm super excited for this episode, and this episode's all around making an impact on the world and how you can really embody being a visionary business leader. What does that look like? So I have Richard Andrew Salony here with me today, and I'm just beyond excited. You're going to hear all about this really amazing story about going from being a monk to working on Wall Street. And, you know, this show, we do a lot of talking around spirituality and business and how we can bring the two together to create a bigger impact in the world. And that's really where his heart is. And so you'll be able to see, and I'm just excited to hear more about your story as well. So let's just dive in. And before we get into your story, I'm actually curious, like when you were a little boy, did you want to be a successful businessman or did you want to be a monk? Like, were either of those like in your field of like, oh, that's what I'm like, that's what I want to grow up to become?
Yeah, the monk wasn't in my field. The successful businessman was. I think the first report that I ever wrote, I think it was in first or second grade, was When I Become a Millionaire.
Cool. I love that. It's always interesting, you know, like what is like mini you? What was he wanting to see in the world? What was he wanting to do and be? So awesome. And so can you share a little bit about your journey? I mean, I know there's probably so much that you could share, but like really, what did that look like becoming a monk? And because even just that part of the journey is super interesting, but then also what was that transition like into stepping into this new part of your life?
Well, first, the transition from wanting to grow up to be a millionaire to all of a sudden having a great disruption in that dream, as I kind of awoken in the 60s. Started experimenting with psychedelics and got introduced to meditation. Went to Woodstock when I was 16. And so prior to that transformative period, I was kind of living or focused on the American dream. I still believed that America was the greatest country in the world, the land of opportunity. And my objective was to go to an Ivy League school, to get my law degree, to wind up on Wall Street, to become incredibly wealthy and have all the things that the American dream promised. And when I started to wake up, all of a sudden those things started to seem incredibly empty to me. Empty to the point where I entered into what some spiritualists call the dark night of the soul, where I just didn't think I could go through with it. It seemed very. It almost seemed like watching a black and white movie when you knew that there must be color somewhere. But I wasn't exactly sure what the alternative was. I just knew that there had to be something more. And that led me on a spiritual search. So I abandoned the classic, secondary education and went on an internal search to try to find myself.
And where did that search take you?
It took me to a spiritual community in California that was founded by a disciple of Paramahansa Yogananda. Mm-hmm. And he had created a community really designed for kind of 60s hippies that were waking up through psychedelics into their spiritual search. And he brought them into a world of very traditional monastic disciplines, but in a way that was really beautiful. We grew our own food. We built our own homes. We had recording studios for musicians. There was a lots of celebration and love, deep connection to the earth. We worked closely with Native American Indians who are teaching us some of the traditional medicine ways and the ways in which to commune with the earth. So it was a very, very beautiful experience.
Wow, it sounds almost like this sliver of heaven on earth. So I'm curious, as you're describing it, I'm like, well, why'd you leave?
Well, I was there for 7 years, and it was a beautiful experience. But I just felt like I had learned what I was there to learn, and I felt like I needed to go out and make my mark in the world.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that feeling, and I think a lot of our listeners do as well. That like turning point where you're like, okay, like I just got to try something different. And I know part of your story is like when you left and really entered the world again, you were literally penniless and like didn't have anything of like the worldly possessions that most people, build up these lives with. And I think that was a part of your story that I actually related to, because part of my story was also just kind of leaving college and then deciding to become a musician that lived on the street. And I did have pennies. I did get that. But I could relate to kind of that entering stage. And so I'm curious, just how was that for you? And what were some of those values, or like you had to have really valued something really strongly to say, okay, I'm going to go out there even though I don't have anything, I don't have pennies, and I want to build up this new vision. So what was going on in your mind then, and like what were some of the values that were important to you?
Well, the values that for me, I had decided that I wanted to have a family, and that I actually did. I had a deep appreciation for music and art and great beauty. And I lived very simply as a monk and loved it and was very, very happy. But I wanted to be able to experience the world. I was here in a body, having 5 senses, and I wanted to take full advantage, of the experience. And I felt like my journey with celibacy was over. It was a tremendous opportunity to learn how to focus inside, using all that energy to kind of go within, to awaken some mystical centers and some deeper understandings of my relationship to the universe. It deeply developed my ability to relate to women non-sexually, which was a tremendous, tremendous lesson, where learning how to make women feel safe, where they would open up to you and you would really get a chance to know them. So that was a wonderful gift. But I wasn't exactly sure how my skills were going to be used in the world. We were actually very successful as a spiritual community. We had built some of the first natural food supermarkets, many of which are owned by Whole Foods today. We built the first juice factories and sprout factories and organic bakeries, and had programs where we would go out and guarantee a farmer's crops for a number of years, and then help them learn how to grow, organically. So we had this great success in that, but that really wasn't my role. I was really more of a spiritual counselor, and I gave sermons. I gave talks to people because we were also open to the community, where hundreds of people would come up on Sundays, and we'd have these incredible organic feasts, and lots of music would play. We had a lot of the 70s spiritually oriented music stars, like Kenny Loggins and Jim Messina and the Beach Boys and the Eagles and Jackson Browne, and those are the kinds of people that would the Moody Blues would come and just bring their guitars and hang out, with us. So it was that, but that's what my work was. I was really a minister and a counselor. So I knew that I knew how to listen to people deeply. I knew how to get to the heart of what was real with them. And I knew that was greatly valued by people, but I wasn't really sure how it was going to translate into being valuable in the marketplace, because I didn't really have expertise in the classic sense of marketing or finance or technology. But I did find, as I went out into the world, that people deeply valued somebody that would listen to them and see them. And over the course of time, I got to see, so to speak, some very, very powerful people who felt that I had seen them in ways that they had never been seen before, and they just wanted to have me around. And then they saw that I was able to see all the people that worked for them in ways that they hadn't been seen before. And then they saw the way that I was able to get people to work together by seeing each other and appreciating each other in ways that had never been, done before. And more opportunity just kept coming my way, where somebody who was very powerful would have a new opportunity and say, I want to get you involved in it. And then after time, they actually would make me like president of it, and I'd actually run it. Again, without any of the classic skills, but that most business people have, but with an ability to see those skills in other people and put together a team of people that could perform in very impactful ways.
Wow. And I know your like portfolio of what you've done in the business world is so impressive. Everywhere from raising billions of dollars to fund like different technologies and the arts and Fortune 500 companies working with their executives. I mean, like the list really does go on and on. And so I'm hearing that like team building and like really seeing, like being very present with people, that those were some of the things that kind of translated over from being a monk and just being with people into becoming the businessman that you are. Was there anything else that you learned while being a monk that really helped you thrive in business and in relationship building?
Yeah, absolutely. What I learned was that everybody has a unique gift. There's something really special, in each person. And when they learn to, one, recognize it, second, trust it, third, invest in it, fourth, find a way in which they could use it in a way that's going to be meaningful, to other people, that other people are willing to support it so they can continue to do that more and more and more. That's what the magic was. So really my everything that I did, everything that I do is really helping people find and awaken, to that gift, and develop that gift and believe in that gift, and understand that is really the only way you will ever really find success being the connection to who you are and why you're here, and a meaningful way in which to express that and share that with other people that's relevant enough, that takes care of you enough so you can just continue to do what you love.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think so many people are like thriving to do that and to see that. And I really see a lot of people that actually struggle trying to figure out how to make that work. I hear a lot of people saying, oh, I want to be doing what I love, but then it always feels like there's like this like division between being able to fund it and actually just be able to do it. So it seems like there's an interesting piece within what you're sharing on.
Well, so there's really five steps to it. I taught these steps in the monastery, and I teach the steps even to highly successful corporate executives that are going through a rebirth, and all of a sudden what they were doing is no longer speaking to them anymore, and how do they find themselves again. And so again, it starts with really getting very, very clear on what your gift is. Mm-hmm. Then second, you have to invest in that gift, meaning that if you're going to make a meaningful expression of your gift, you have to be the best that you could be at it, which means you have got to invest. You have to invest time, you have to invest energy, you have to make a commitment to being the best that you could possibly be. There's a great story about Eric Clapton, the great guitarist, who he found his passion for playing guitar when he was 6 years old, but he didn't play Layla at 6 years old. He played the guitar till his fingers bled. He studied with every guitar master that there was, becoming the best that he could be. Because no matter what your gift is, no matter what your art is, whatever you're dreaming in your mind, you have to have the vehicle that allows the highest expression of what you're dreaming, to come through. So it takes commitment beyond what we've ever dreamed of. You got to be all in. You got to give it everything there is. Mm-hmm. Now, once you reach that state, so those are the first two, finding your gift and then becoming the best at it. The third is what you actually call the farming stage. And the farming stage is Now, what is it that you're going to plant, so to speak, in your field of dreams, in your field of power? And this is where relevancy comes into being. And relevancy is a completely different skill set than finding your gift and developing your gift. It's really tuning in to the world around you and saying, what is the most relevant way I can share what I have to share in a way that other people are going to find value in it, at least enough to pay me to continue doing it so I can continue to develop it. And that relevancy stage is oftentimes where I feel people get really stuck. Mm-hmm. And they just think, well, all I have to do is find out what I love to do and love to do, and then the universe is just going to magically make that happen for me. And it doesn't happen. You've got to go through that relevancy stage. You've got to dive into that world and see where you're making a connection in a way that it's meaningful. And once you then go through those two stages, then you can move on to the higher spiritual stages of the 5 lessons. But those don't become as relevant until you master the first 3. But if you master those first 3, I don't care who you are and what you do, you will be successful. Those are the laws of the universe.
I love that. Thank you for breaking that down and really going into it. I think the piece around the second stage and just like that image of like working, playing the guitar till your fingers bleed. Like, I think that's something that we need to be reminded of, because so often I hear, oh, just manifest it. Oh, like, whatever you want, you can have. You just need to like keep visioning or like, follow your dreams. But it's like, what does that actually look like? It actually looks like putting it into practice every single day and being so fiercely committed. So thank you for that powerful reminder. I think we could always use more and more of that. So I kind of want to get into your head a little bit. And so I'm going to ask you this question. I'm curious what you think has been your greatest success. And because I see you, and I think a lot of people see you as a successful guy, and I'm curious, like, what has been the most successful and meaningful thing that you've done in your life?
I couldn't point to one, because it really goes back to the relevancy of what I was successful for at that moment was doing the best that I could do at that moment. And so at that moment, that was everything. And each moment is what it is. And that's the lesson of remaining present. Because oftentimes what happened is we confuse the importance of setting objectives. We confuse the idea of the law of manifestation in this idea that we're just going to get in our head what it is that we want, and it's just going to happen. Because the fact of the matter is, there are 10,001 things, actually 10 billion and one things that contribute to the moment being what it is, and only a small part of that is what you put into it. So the greater gift is actually going into the moment, not so fixed on what you think it is that you want, but actually observing what is. And by observing what is, you can then tune into what is the way that you can make that moment the best that it can be. What gift can you bring to that moment to make it better? Because otherwise you're walking in with this idea of how can I serve this moment, rather than the idea of you had this goal or dream and you walked in and it wasn't what you expected, and so you're immediately experiencing the moment from disappointment. And it's very difficult to contribute to a moment from disappointment. And in disappointment, you might have missed something that was there that was actually going to contribute to your success in a greater way than you ever could have imagined, but you were blocked to it because all you saw was disappointment.
Wow, I think that's so powerful for everyone to hear. And like, I'm just like, yep, that's exactly it. And I was curious what your answer was going to be, because I felt like it wasn't going to be the standard thing. So thanks for sharing that. And it's so amazing. Like, that's the work, right? Is to be able to be in the moment, and be of the most service. You know, I love how you're like, how can I bring more of my gifts into this moment, and to remember that like we're not in full control of it all, and to surrender to just what is happening and how it's unfolding, and practice the presence of being aware, so that way you can receive what is really being given to you in the moment. It's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing. And I'm curious, like, if you were to say, I mean, you've already shared so many powerful nuggets of wisdom, but for someone that's maybe already on their journey of creating an impact, maybe they've already started their business, or they're in like the first few years of it, they know that they're doing this personal work, like what would you say to them to, in terms of like the longevity of being able to have that continued success? And when I say success, I really am talking about like the holistic success of being able to be present and also be able to make a bigger impact than what you probably think is possible.
So I would boil it down to 3 things, and it's a mantra that I repeat every day, and that is for love, in love, as love. So for love, meaning do what you do for love. Do it because you love it. Do it because you love the circumstance that you're trying to give to. Always do what you do for love. And then do it in love. Do it as if you're doing it for your beloved, for the person that it means the most to you. Do it as an act in love. Really be in love with what you're doing. And then as love, meaning that in life, we're going to come across things that are going to be uncomfortable. To be authentic with people, sometimes we're going to have to tell them things that might disappoint them, that they might not want to hear. But do it as love would do it. Just do it with love. Be authentic, but do it as love would do it. If you follow those 3 things about everything that you do it for love, do it in love, do it as love, you will experience tremendous success in your life, because there is no greater success than connecting your love in a meaningful way.
I love that. I'm writing that down immediately. And yeah, that's so powerful. Thank you for sharing. I'm just so grateful for our time together, and I know that I could just keep talking to you probably for like the next, full rest of the day. I'm like, okay, what kind of tea do you like? But we'll end it there for now, and just thank you so much for being who you are in the world, for sharing your leadership, for creating the impact that you have, because it really does ripple just so much farther than you could even imagine. So thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, dear. It's an honor to be here, and an honor to spend this time with you.
Awesome. And thank you to everyone that's watching this video. Thank you for taking that time to just look at this new perspective and bring it into your own light, and let us all be full embodiments of love. And just, I'm excited to walk off here and just, all right, for love, as love, in love. Yeah, I'm feeling it. So thank you everyone so much for checking out this video. Please go ahead and subscribe and ring the bell if you haven't, and I'll check you out on another video. See ya.
Bye-bye.